The message arrived without warning, a cascade of signals weaving through Earth's satellites and communications arrays, bearing promises that sounded almost gentle against the backdrop of the void. Protection, they called it. A pact from a civilization whose fleets had spanned galaxies, whose technology bent the very laws of physics, whose emissaries carried the weight of centuries of dominion. On distant bridges, their diplomats watched the screens, certain that Earth's response would be submission, compliance, awe, but humanity did not bend. Not then, not ever. The laughter came first, a quiet ripple among scientists, engineers, and soldiers alike, disbelief turning quickly into recognition. They were being threatened, yes, but no alien force had yet understood that Earth's defenders had survived cosmic storms, rogue AIs, and catastrophes that would have annihilated countless worlds. Humanity had learned to endure not by hiding, not by submitting, but by facing impossibility head-on and reshaping it. Far above the blue planet, orbital platforms hummed with activity, drawing invisible lines of defense that no alien sensors could fully interpret. Engineers and tacticians moved with quiet purpose, preparing systems the aliens could not predict, strategies that twisted conventional logic into something wholly human. There was intelligence here, yes, but also audacity, ingenuity, and a moral clarity born from knowing what was worth defending. On the surface, fleets were mobilized, not massive by galactic standards, but precise, adaptable, unpredictable. A single human pilot navigated a solar wind with an intuition that no AI could replicate. Technicians worked tirelessly, calibrating weapons that were as much about cunning as firepower. Humanity did not wait for permission. Humanity did not ask for mercy. Humanity responded with the quiet confidence of a species that knew its own strength, its own depth, and the unassailable value of its own existence. The alien emissaries, watching from afar, expected fear. They had studied countless civilizations, crushed rebellions before they could ignite. Made entire species bow with a whisper of threat. But Earth was different. The signals they intercepted were not of panic, not of negotiation. They were of preparation, of defiance, and of awareness. Humanity's first act was not violence, but the assertion of possibility, that submission was never on the table, and every move would be deliberate, measured, and decisive. Then came the first sighting. On the edge of the solar system, alien scouts drifted into detection range, vast shapes glinting against the void, their scales of metal and light unmatched. Yet even here, Earth responded not with blind aggression, but with controlled ingenuity. Sensors flared, orbital disruptors hummed. And the humans in command centers across continents moved with synchronized purpose that felt almost preternatural. The aliens' confidence wavered. There was something in the pattern of preparation, the subtle timing of maneuvers, the almost intuitive coordination that they could not calculate. It was not hubris. It was recognition. Humanity had faced the void and endured, not by bowing, but by understanding the rules better than anyone else, by bending probability with courage and intelligence, and by proving in the quietest way possible that no threat could ever be certain. And as the first alien vessel drifted closer, expecting dominance and submission, it encountered instead a system prepared for every contingency. A species unafraid of the impossible, a force that had already begun rewriting the rules of engagement. The galaxy's finest minds had assumed they were the protectors. Humanity was about to prove otherwise. The alien scouts hovered at the edge of the solar system, their vast hulls shimmering with energy fields designed to intimidate, to announce inevitability. Yet even as they drifted into Earth's defensive perimeter, their sensors flickered with confusion. Humanity's systems were unlike any they had encountered. Organic in their coordination, intuitive in their design, yet precise enough to predict and counter every standard maneuver. It was not brute force that had caused the hesitation. It was understanding, strategy, and the audacious intelligence of a species that refused to be constrained. From orbit, human strategists observed the approaching vessels, their eyes scanning data streams, interpreting threats in patterns that no algorithm alone could parse. They moved like conductors of a silent symphony, deploying defenses, recalibrating energy shields, and sending signals that carried no words, only intention. The humans were not afraid. They were deliberate. Every action spoke of confidence forged through millennia of survival, of challenges faced on a planet that demanded creativity, resilience, and ingenuity just to endure. On the surface, pilots readied crafts designed not merely for combat but for adaptability. Each vessel was a testament to human ingenuity, small, fast, and capable of maneuvers no automated system could anticipate. Engineers and scientists monitored every reaction of the alien ships, predicting their shifts, guiding every human decision with near-omniscient precision. The aliens assumed superiority, assumed predictability, assumed fear, but humanity had long since learned to exploit every assumption, turning expectation into opportunity. The first engagement was subtle, almost imperceptible. A scout vessel attempted to probe the outer perimeter, projecting energy waves meant to disable sensors. But the human systems had already adapted. Fields of electromagnetic countermeasures shimmered into existence, diverting energy harmlessly, feeding real-time data back into a network of human intuition and strategy. The alien crew, confident in their calculations, realized too late that the planet they had underestimated was anticipating every move, adapting faster than thought possible, and striking not with reckless force but with perfect, methodical response. In orbit, a single human command station coordinated the dance. Lights flickered across displays, technicians moved with fluid grace, voice commands unnecessary. Calculations ran, adjustments executed, contingencies unfolded in real time with the precision of a species that had turned survival into art. Humanity's defiance was quiet but absolute. Moral clarity fused with intellect to create a force that no alien fleet could reduce to simple equations. The alien emissaries, observing remotely, exchanged glances that betrayed disbelief. Their centuries of conquest, their fleets of unimaginable scale, their dominance over countless civilizations, all of it seemed fragile before the audacity of humans who had learned to survive against impossible odds. There was no malice in the humans' preparation, only determination, pride, and the serene knowledge that they would not bow to intimidation. And then came the moment of first contact, not through weapons, not through fire, but through presence. The alien scouts slowed, drifted hesitantly, as if sensing the inevitability of the human's will. Every maneuver, every adjustment, every calculation had been anticipated. The galaxy's most sophisticated intelligence found itself outmatched not by power, but by resolve, by insight, by the unyielding refusal to be dominated. Humanity had begun its reply. It was not loud. It was not explosive. It was precise. It was inevitable. Every alien vessel in the perimeter understood, even if only subconsciously, the species they had assumed they could control had no intention of submission. And in that quiet, measured defiance, the first seed of fear took root, small but undeniable, in the hearts of creatures who had never encountered a species quite like this. The planet below, the command stations, the orbital platforms, all waited, poised, synchronized. The aliens' notion of inevitability was unraveling before them. Humanity was no longer reactive, it was defining the terms of engagement, shaping the battlefield, and showing the galaxy a simple truth. To threaten Earth was to challenge a species that did not yield. The alien scouts hovered like predators uncertain of their prey, their hulls reflecting distant starlight as if the cosmos itself bore witness. But the humans had already anticipated this hesitation. From command stations across continents, calculations ran faster than any machine could fully comprehend, guiding every human decision with uncanny precision. They were not merely reacting, they were orchestrating, turning expectation against the observer, making every movement, every adjustment, every flicker of light a message of defiance. On the edge of the solar system, a human frigate slipped through the void like a shadow, invisible until it chose to reveal itself. Its engines pulsed softly, almost as if breathing, synchronized with the rhythm of the planet's orbital defenses. The alien sensors registered anomalies, brief flickers in space, yet they could not predict the timing, the angle, the intent. Humanity had turned unpredictability into strategy, improvisation into inevitability. In orbit, the command station hummed with quiet intensity. Analysts, engineers, and pilots moved as one organism, each mind anticipating the other, each calculation layered atop intuition, each decision guided by experience and moral clarity. The humans were not just defending, they were asserting dominance through presence, demonstrating that intellect and courage could outweigh fleets of alien warships. A scout attempted to break formation, projecting energy fields designed to probe and paralyze. But the humans had already turned the probe against itself, a cascade of countermeasures that rerouted energy harmlessly, feeding the aliens' own signals back into their sensors in distorted patterns. Confusion rippled through the alien crews. What they had assumed were predictable responses became a labyrinth, a demonstration of strategic depth they had never encountered. From the surface, pilots watched through orbital sensors, adjusting trajectories, weaving in precise formations that would have seemed chaotic to any outside observer. Yet every motion was deliberate, every pattern designed to maximize advantage, to force miscalculation, to show the subtle brilliance of human ingenuity. It was not violence that intimidated, it was control, foresight, and the quiet knowledge that humanity could endure, adapt, and overcome beyond calculation. The alien emissaries convened on their vessels, their pride and confidence faltering. They had dominated countless civilizations, bent entire star systems to their will, yet here was Earth, a small blue world, orchestrating chaos with calm precision. Their most advanced minds could not parse the decisions unfolding across millions of kilometers. Their fleets drifted in hesitation, uncertain, frustrated, watching humans assert dominance not through firepower, but through intellect, strategy, and moral clarity. And then came the first decisive act. A human frigate, guided by instinct and data in perfect harmony, approached the lead scout. It emitted a subtle pulse, not destructive, but revealing, mapping every energy signature, every system response. The aliens responded instinctively, deploying defenses that had never failed before, but the humans had already anticipated each, neutralizing them with non-violent precision. In minutes, the lead vessel was effectively paralyzed, unable to act without risking catastrophe. Across the solar system, every human-controlled asset moved in synchrony. Orbital arrays shifted subtly, sensor grids pulsed in calculated patterns, and communications relayed information that no alien AI could fully interpret. Humanity's defiance was no longer theoretical, it was manifest, tangible, and inescapable. The scouts were trapped in a dance they could not control, facing a species that had mastered uncertainty, leveraged ingenuity, and made courage a force of tactical inevitability. The alien diplomats, watching from their vessels, exchanged unspoken dread. They had expected submission, perhaps negotiation, possibly fear, but not this. Not intelligence, not audacity, not moral clarity distilled into motion and purpose. Humanity had proven, in the first tangible encounter, that to threaten Earth was to confront a species whose defiance was a law of existence, whose strategy was inseparable from intellect, whose courage was inseparable from moral authority. And in the quiet of command centers, orbital stations, and human vessels, one truth became undeniable. The galaxy had assumed Earth was weak, predictable, containable. It had been wrong. Humanity was ready. Humanity was united. Humanity was inevitable. The first clash had ended not in destruction, but in revelation. The galaxy would never underestimate Earth again. The alien scouts had frozen in the void, their confidence fractured by an intelligence they could not predict. Yet they were only the harbingers. Beyond them, the full fleet loomed, vessels vast enough to dwarf moons, engines pulsing with the energy of dying stars, weapons arrays that could rend planets. They had come to protect Earth, to impose dominion, to assert control, and they had assumed the humans would kneel. They had assumed compliance. They had assumed fear, but humanity did not fear. Humanity observed. Humanity calculated. From orbital command stations, analysts traced the fleet's formation with meticulous care, tracking energy signatures, predicting vector shifts, and anticipating maneuvers with the clarity that comes from both intelligence and experience. Every human asset, from the smallest scout to the largest frigate, moved as part of a living network, responsive, adaptive, and precise beyond algorithmic comprehension. The first signals of engagement rippled across space, subtle, almost imperceptible to an outsider. Humans did not strike recklessly. They adjusted trajectories, recalibrated shields, and projected countermeasures that made the alien fleet hesitate, unbalancing them psychologically before any physical confrontation. To the aliens, it must have felt like walking onto a chessboard where every move had been predicted, every response anticipated, every weakness accounted for, yet the board was still, somehow, alive. On the planet, technicians and engineers worked tirelessly, monitoring the battle as if guiding an orchestra. Each human hand, each calculation, each command transmitted a confidence born of centuries of surviving the impossible. This was no mindless aggression, this was strategy refined to an art, a demonstration that true power often lies not in overwhelming force, but in precision, courage, and moral clarity. As the alien fleet advanced, the humans enacted their first coordinated maneuver. Frigates slipped between the enormous vessels, weaving invisibly through sensor nets, emitting interference patterns that scrambled targeting systems. Energy pulses deflected harmlessly off orbital shields while providing crucial data for humans to further exploit weaknesses. The aliens, masters of countless worlds, found themselves second-guessing, hesitant, trapped in a system they could not dominate. Then the first human strike came, not a shot, not a blast of destruction, but a sequence of precise disruptions. Systems shut down selectively across the alien fleet, energy flows reversed, weapons disabled, propulsion staggered. Ships staggered in orbit like clumsy predators, their superiority undermined by a species they had assumed inferior. The aliens realized, too late, that brute strength alone could not win a war against a species whose defiance was grounded in intellect, adaptability, and moral clarity. On board one of the largest human frigates, the command officer watched with quiet resolve as the alien vessels faltered. There was no panic, no bloodlust, only confidence born of preparation. Every move was deliberate, every outcome considered. Humanity had learned long ago that survival required more than strength. It required awareness, courage, and the audacity to act when the universe assumed passivity. And then came the moment that would define the battle. A lead alien warship, massive beyond imagination, attempted to assert dominance. Projecting energy fields meant to crush smaller vessels instantly. But humans had anticipated every projection. In a synchronized sequence of maneuvers and energy modulation, the massive ship was rendered immobile, its systems jammed without a single life lost. It hovered helplessly, a monument to human precision, ingenuity, and moral purpose. Across the solar system, every human observer felt the same awe. This was not destruction. This was dominance refined by intelligence, restraint, and courage. Humanity had proven, in the opening stages of conflict, that no technology, no scale, and no historical experience could predict or overcome the audacity of a species that refused to be threatened. The alien diplomats, observing remotely, exchanged silent panic. Their fleets had been masters of the galaxy, yet here, in the shadow of a blue planet, humans had turned expectation on its head. One species, underestimated, dismissed, and catalogued, was rewriting the rules of engagement with quiet confidence and deliberate intent, and humanity, calm but resolute, prepared for the next stage. Not with recklessness, not with anger, but with the same precision, intelligence, and defiance that had carried them to this moment. The galaxy's perception of Earth as weak, malleable, and inconsequential had shattered, leaving only a simple, undeniable truth: threatening humanity was no longer a choice a civilization could survive. The alien fleet drifted, massive and silent, like predators unsure of their own strength. But Earth's response was no longer just preparation, it was assertion. From orbit to surface, humanity moved as one living network, every pilot, engineer, and strategist perfectly aligned, their decisions flowing seamlessly, faster than any calculation, more precise than any algorithm. The humans were no longer reacting, they were commanding the battlefield, bending probability, and making the impossible routine. In the void between planets, frigates glided with uncanny coordination, weaving around the alien vessels as though the emptiness itself bent to their will. Energy grids shimmered, projecting interference patterns that rendered alien weapons inert. Communications disrupted, sensors misled, propulsion staggered. The alien fleet, vast and confident, began to falter under the weight of human ingenuity. Every move was deliberate, every adjustment a lesson in defiance and strategic brilliance. On board the flagship, the alien admiral's pride twisted into disbelief. Centuries of domination, countless conquests, a mastery of war spanning galaxies, all of it reduced to hesitation by humans who had never fought a war of scale, who had no fleets to rival the galaxy's finest. Yet here they were, turning every expectation against their foes, reshaping the battlefield with intellect, courage, and an unwavering moral core. From the planet's command stations, humans adjusted orbital arrays and weapon systems, not to destroy, but to control, to neutralize, to assert mastery without needless devastation. Small vessels darted between hulking alien ships, emitting pulses that destabilized shields, rerouted energy flows, and fed critical information to the humans orchestrating the dance. The aliens were trapped in patterns they could not predict, facing a species that had made unpredictability itself an instrument of power. A single human frigate approached the lead alien warship, massive enough to house a city, engines thrumming like a heartbeat. Yet the human vessel moved with precision that made size irrelevant. Systems disrupted, weapons paralyzed, propulsion hindered. The alien flagship, confident in centuries of superiority, was immobilized not by force but by cunning, intelligence, and timing. Humanity had shown that dominance could be achieved without destruction, that a species with moral clarity and intellect could bend the universe to its will. On board the alien vessels, chaos spread silently. Officers exchanged panicked glances as every contingency failed, every tactic countered, every assumption undone. Their most sophisticated AI, their greatest strategists, could not anticipate a species that had mastered adaptability, resilience, and audacious defiance. Humanity had become an equation they could not solve. A force they could not overpower, a presence they could not contain. Back on Earth, the human strategists did not exult. There was no celebration, only focus, calculation, and awareness. The fight was not over. Humanity understood the stakes, the responsibility, and the weight of every decision. Every system, every pilot, every engineer was part of a living network, acting with the precision and purpose of a species that had survived millennia by refusing to submit, refusing to yield, and refusing to bow to threats. And then, in a moment that would echo across the galaxy, the humans enacted the next phase of the engagement. Frigates flanked the alien vessels, drones moved with uncanny coordination. And orbital arrays pulsed in a synchronized rhythm that turned alien technology against itself. Shields collapsed, engines faltered, and the vast fleet, once confident, now bewildered, began to unravel, piece by piece, under the subtle, inexorable mastery of a species no one had thought capable. Humanity had proven, decisively, that scale, history, and fear were irrelevant before intelligence, courage, and moral clarity. The battle had become not just about defense, but about revelation. The galaxy was witnessing the audacity, brilliance, and unyielding defiance of Earth's children, and every alien mind that survived the initial engagement understood that the humans were no ordinary species. In the silence that followed each maneuver, humanity did not pause. Every action, every adjustment, every strategy moved toward the inevitable outcome, victory, not through blind force, but through intellect, patience, and the quiet, unshakable assertion of human will. And the alien fleet, for all its size and power, began to understand what countless civilizations had failed to grasp. Earth did not surrender. Earth did not submit. Earth was a species that would endure, adapt, and triumph against impossible odds. The alien fleet, once confident and unyielding, now drifted in hesitation. Every ship, every weapon, every system had been tested and found wanting against a species that had turned defiance into strategy, courage into inevitability, and intellect into unstoppable force. Yet humanity did not rush forward in triumph. They moved deliberately, calculating, observing, ensuring that every action was precise, every outcome anticipated, and every life preserved wherever possible. This was not recklessness. This was mastery. From the orbital command stations, analysts monitored energy flows, propulsion systems, and weapon arrays with near-omniscient clarity. Every human vessel moved as part of a single organism, anticipating shifts in the alien fleet, exploiting weaknesses not through brute force but through superior understanding. The aliens had assumed submission, humanity had assumed nothing but victory. Shaped entirely by insight, courage, and moral determination, the human frigate approached the largest alien vessel, engines humming like a heartbeat in the cold void. It moved slowly, deliberately, a singular presence that carried the weight of an entire species' audacity. Alien sensors flared, weapons powered, but the humans had already projected countermeasures, rerouted energy fields, and disrupted targeting systems. The colossal alien ship faltered, paralyzed by precision rather than destruction, a monument to human ingenuity. Across the solar system, orbital platforms pulsed with energy, weaving a web of control that rendered alien maneuvers ineffective. Drones deployed, not to attack, but to manipulate, redirect, and neutralize. Alien crews exchanged panicked signals, but the humans were already 3 steps ahead, turning anticipation into control, and fear into demonstration. The battle was not measured in firepower, it was measured in intellect, defiance, and moral clarity, the human signature on the galaxy, and then came the decisive moment. From the flagship command bridge, a single human action cascaded across the alien fleet. Propulsion systems jammed, weapons frozen, communications scrambled. The alien vessels drifted, helpless, confronted by a species that had taken what was expected and turned it into inevitability. Victory was not loud, it was quiet. Precise, and undeniable. Every alien mind that survived understood what they had faced. Humans had not only defended their planet, they had redefined the rules of engagement. On the surface, the citizens of Earth watched not with celebration, but with sober pride. Humanity had endured, adapted, and triumphed against forces beyond comprehension, not through reckless aggression, but through courage, intelligence, and moral fortitude. The galaxy had assumed fear, humanity had responded with mastery. The fleets had not been destroyed, they had been shown a species that could not be threatened, one whose presence alone commanded respect and caution, the alien diplomats, witnessing the quiet dominance of a single species, understood a truth that would echo across civilizations: Earth was not to be underestimated, ignored, or intimidated. Humanity's defiance had not only preserved a world, it had reshaped galactic perception, proving that intellect, courage, and moral clarity were the ultimate weapons. And as the last of the alien vessels drifted away, hesitant, uncertain, and unwilling to engage further, humanity remained poised, vigilant, serene in the knowledge that they had done more than survive. They had triumphed. The galaxy would never forget. The stars above Earth gleamed, indifferent yet magnificent, and humanity stood ready, not as a prey, not as a subject, but as a species unbroken, unbowed, and unstoppable. And somewhere in the quiet expanse of space, a single truth echoed, unspoken yet undeniable: the universe had learned to respect humanity, the species that would never kneel.